What's good, Fins Nation? It's your boy Reason back here with EMdolphinfan. We got a special one for you tonight. We're going to go over my top 5 offensive tackle big board and honorable mentions. EM's going to go through them with me, give his thoughts and opinions, where he ranks guys, and any thoughts before we get into it, EM.
Fins up, fins up, fins up. Let's get it, baby. Let's get it.
So, first of all, I want to thank everyone who's here from TD Fins Talk and everyone who made the jump over. We really appreciate all the love and all the support everyone's been showing us. I got to send a special shout out to Brian Trulin from an interview a few days ago. We got a lot of good feedback from that. I think there's a lot of good info on it, good discussion. If you haven't, go check that out. And if you haven't, go hit him up on Twitter, his draft guide. I just got my copy today, so his draft guide is available, and it's only $6 American for the digital copy, so it's definitely worth your time, definitely worth your money. So let's get into it. We're going to start off with the honorable mentions, and as the other videos, the quarterback video and the running back video, honorable mentions are just a fancy way of me saying 6 to 10. Outside of the top 5. So as usual, we'll start at 10 and we'll work our way up. So number 10 for me is Austin Jackson, left tackle out of USC. Not high.
10.
Yes, sir. I am not as high on him as most, obviously. He's 21. He's a definition of a raw project, though he has huge upside, no doubt. Over 1,152 pass block reps during his 3 years at USC. He allowed 7 sacks, 4 hits, and 22 hurries. And considering only 90 of those reps where he allowed 1 sack and 1 hurry were in his freshman season, his sophomore and junior season, the lead caused for concern, especially considering he didn't take a step forward in production and development as a player that most had expected him to take in his junior year. He's got great length, consistently keeps his hands high and tight, and has a surprisingly nimble set of feet. He's 6'5", 322 pounds, but plays soft. Definitely not a mauler. Though he positions his hands considerably well, defenders have no problem moving them out of the way, and he isn't strong at resetting them. Got dominated when he faced good competition off the edge by Bradley Anai, AJ Epinesa, and Julian Okwara from Notre Dame. I just don't see the hype or the validation of these mocks that have him going in the 20s of the first round.
Yeah. You good?
Yeah, go. I'll go to 9 now.
Yeah. You had him at 10. I agree with about 95% of your evaluation.
Raw for
athlete. Me. Oh yeah, he's really raw. But again, I think he's going to get pushed up the draft board because of his athleticism.
I don't think he can identify blitzes and stunts well at all either. So I don't think he has a high football IQ for the position as well.
Yeah, he's I definitely I see it again. We talked about this before. I see a lot of Julian Davenport. In his game.
So would you take that in the 20s of the first round?
I'm sorry?
Would you take that in the 20s of the first round where a lot of people are rejecting him?
No, not Jackson. I'm not taking him in the first round.
So my number 9 guy is Ezra Cleveland. One of the big post-combine risers on a lot of people's boards. Didn't allow more than 20 pressures in any of his seasons as a starter and only 2 pressures total in his last 5 games to end the season in 2019. Really good in pass protection while solid in run protection. Has overall grades above 80 in his last 2 seasons at Boise State, though some may question the talent he faced. Was asked to do a ton of one-on-one reps out on an island in pass protection, which is great for translating to the next level developmental-wise. Really agile, quick feet, and great handwork. Always tight, and he uses them well to throw off balance of attacking defenders. Needs to work on his strength as his anchorability isn't quite there yet. Has okay length, not great, and has a fairly soft punch move. His footwork and technique lead you to believe he could be an NFL starter as long as he continues to work on his upper and lower body strength.
Mm-hmm. I agree 100%. Another good similar comparison to Jones. Excellent athlete. He just needs to again get stronger in his base and his upper body. So yeah, I'm 100% in agreement. 100% agreement, bro.
So number 8, I got Isiah Wilson from Georgia, right tackle. A massive right tackle at 6'7", 350 pounds, solid in both pass and run block protection. Over the course of his 2 years as a starter on 758 pass block snaps, he allowed 2 sacks, 5 hits, and 17 hurries, with only 6 of those hurries being allowed in 2019. Has steadily improved each year as a starter. Great length, faces outside rushes fairly well, tons of upper body strength, and really good ability in open space. No problem at all tracking linebackers. Doesn't have overly quick feet, but he has great agility, and his ability to recover is mediocre at best, though. Due to his enormous size, his ability to get low definitely shows to be a struggle for him. I project him as a one-day starter, not a day one starter. He will be a starter one day. He might have potential at that size to be kicked into guard.
You know something? To be honest with you, reason I love him.
Yeah,
he is high on my board. Maybe not necessarily in the first round, but definitely I would definitely entertain
second,
him.
third, fine for sure.
In the second round. Yeah, because I would think, you know, I mean, if we selected him, you could easily kick him inside the right guard, bro. You know, 6'6", 350 pounds, excellent arm length. He's based off of his profile, I think he's the perfect, he's a poster child for this power scheme that they're seem to be implementing. You have him at right guard, you got Eric Flowers at left guard. That's a lot of size and strength. We would have up front, bro. I really, really like this kid. Not necessarily in the first round, though.
Okay, so the second guy is my number 7 guy is I usually give 2 sleepers. The next guy is one of my sleepers. Jack Driscoll, right tackle, Auburn. Very athletic right tackle for his size at 6'5", 306 pounds, and it constantly shows up on tape. Before transferring to Auburn, he played at UMass, where he also took snaps at guard, so he's shown that versatility you want. Pass blocking improved yearly, graded out by PFF in 2016 at UMass with a 71.3, 2017 at UMass with an 81.7, then an 85.8 in his first year at Auburn in 2018, and an 86.3 in his senior season last year at Auburn. Has only allowed 1 sack in his last 2 seasons at Auburn, 2 hits, 0 last year, and 19 hurries over a course of 829 pass blocking snaps at Auburn. Plays with great leverage, good balance, and no problem tracking defenders in open space. Needs to add more upper body strength, get some more explosiveness out of his stats, and because of this, can get caught opening his hips up way too soon. His athleticism and technique make him a very intriguing option and one of my sleepers of this draft, like I said earlier.
Where do you have him? What number is he on your list? 7.
Yeah.
Not too high on this player. And again, I'm trying to look through the lens of projecting him into our scheme. I think he's a little light for my liking as far as the tackle position is concerned. I like my tackles to be between 315, 325-ish. And I definitely think he could stand to get stronger in his upper body. He's
another guy who has the potential projection to be a guard at the next level if he doesn't add body weight.
So,
but his athleticism.
I'm not too high on him, but Oh yeah, again, another good athlete, another excellent athlete, but he third round, from 3rd through 5th. I think the projection on him is the 3rd through the 5th round. He's a good developmental player, but I wouldn't select him and insert him into the lineup day one. I don't think he's a day one starter by any stretch, but I'm not too high on him. I just prefer I'm looking for, I'm coming from the standpoint of this power run scheme. I think the run game will be prioritized this year. And if you just look at the profile of players that they are bringing in here, he just doesn't fit it. Not as a day one starter. So we'll see. But no, not high on him, bro. Not at all. You there? Okay, I don't know what happened. I don't know what's going on. Reed. I don't know what. Y'all hang on one second.
Sorry about that. Had a little bit of a technical issue there with my internet, but we're back. We'll keep it moving. EM's going to come back and join me. So we finished off at Jack Driscoll. Let's get into the next guy. Number 6 on my board. Again, another guy I think a lot of people are sleeping on, reason being his durability issues. So he is one of my favorite tackles in the class. It's Lucas Niang, right tackle out of Temple, TCU. So he just needs to stay healthy. He hasn't allowed a sack in each year. He's been a starter while only allowing 5 total hits in all of those years with 25 hurries, 13 of which came in his first year as a starter. He has never allowed more than 14 total pressures in a single season of his career and was called for just 3 total penalties across 1,982 career offensive snaps. He has prototypical size you want to see in offensive tackle. He's 6'7", 328 pounds, and has impressive length to his arms to go along with his overall size, which allows him to easily handle defenders at the second level, which you consistently see on tape. Has great quickness and explosiveness for a man his size out of his stance, and an outstanding anchor to his game. Good hands with an aggressive punch, plays at a good pad level, never too high, never too low, and always stays square. Needs his footwork coached up at the next level a bit, as it can be all over the maps at times. His durability is somewhat of a concern, like I mentioned earlier, but it looks like he could blossom into something really special at the next level if put with the right coach and in a good situation. Again, another option you want to look for if you take a left-handed quarterback. So let's get into my top 5 in this draft. So long, guys. EM's backstage. So we'll just go into my number 5 guy because I don't know where EM is right now. So my number 5 guy is Josh Jones out of Utah. Love this kid. I've been talking about him on the other platform for quite some time now. I think this guy has the potential to be real special. So let's get into my evaluation of him.
Sorry.
No worries.
About that, bro.
Another one of my favorites in this draft class, like I mentioned, and has been for months as seen on the other platform. 3rd highest graded player by PFF in all of college football, behind only Joe Burrow, and arguably one of the best tackles you're all going to see come out potentially next year, Oregon left tackle Penei Sewell, as Josh Jones put up an overall grade of 93.2. At 6'5", 319 pounds, Josh Jones has near ideal size, but he also has the overall athleticism to his game to be a successful tackle at the next level. Over the course of the last 3 years at Houston, he's taken 1,282 pass block reps, where he's only allowed 5 sacks, 4 hits, none in the last 2 years, 19 hurries, and a total of only 19 pressures, and only 4 of those came in his senior season. His run protection took an absolutely massive step forward this year as he jumped from a 62.8 PFF grade in 2018 to a ridiculous 92.7 run blocking grade this past season. His 33.875-inch arms are more than adequate enough for the NFL. He's light-footed with great balance in his pass set, has no problem mirroring defenders, has some of the best hands in the tackle draft class, and has a sneaky quickness that is very effective at helping him contain athletic rushing defenders, especially on the edges. He could improve his footwork just a bit. I can see how they've labeled raw, as sometimes he oversets his feet and isn't consistently clean coming up out of his stance. He needs to work on his punch. As you'll see on his tape, he misses more frequently than you'd like to see. He needs to work on taking better angles and properly identifying stunts. Can also lose leverage at times because he gets caught playing at a higher pad level. Overall, Josh Jones has the package and foundation to be a reliable, quality starter at the next level. He just needs to continue to improve on his footwork fundamentals, overall technique, and his on-field situational awareness.
Absolutely. I'm in 100% agreement with your reason again. Very high on this player. 6'5", 312 pounds, 33-inch arms. So the athletic the profile is there. And like you notated, what got my attention was the improvement in the run game from last year to this year.
Every year he's taking a leap. Every year.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what you want to see. And again, I could see him, if we, maybe at 18, maybe 26, selecting him. And yeah, again, fits the profile of, definitely a scheme fit. Mm-hmm. So yeah, what number are we at? We're at what, 5, right?
5, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I have him a little higher, but
okay,
yeah, definitely high on him as well.
As am I. Like, I guess you could say I got, you pick your sleepers outside the top 5, but in the top 5, I really love Josh Jones, man. I really, really, really do.
And again, my board, like I said, I just feel like they're going to prioritize. Maybe even overly prioritize a run game this year, whether that be with Fitzpatrick or whatever rookie they select, if they wind up playing at some point this year.
Just what I see from his tape, and this is why I'm okay with mortgaging the 18th to move up and get one of those right tackles, because I'm fine with not getting Andrew Thomas. I can, or Makai Becton, because Josh Jones at 26, I like that fit. When I see the people when I see people's mocks having us take Austin Jackson at 26, bro, as you can tell by my list, I cringe. I say, who wouldn't, especially if we're going to bring in Howard with a power game, who wouldn't take Josh Jones at 26 over Austin Jackson,
right,
bro?
Right. I agree 100%, bro.
Doesn't make sense.
100%. So, again, this is a player, I'm high on, and he definitely, again, the profile is there. I think the scheme fit is there. So he's a real, he, in my opinion, I think at 18, definitely him. But I think even Andrew Thomas would be a possible. I think there are realistic possibilities at 18.
Yeah.
So
sure.
Absolutely.
So my number 4 guy, again, I think he has arguably the highest upside in his class, and I'm pretty sure EM has a very high on his own board, is Makai Becton. So at 6'7", 364 pounds, Makai Becton blew away the combine with some staggering numbers. A 1.77 10-yard split and a 5.1 second 40-yard dash. His athleticism looks to be that of a rare breed for a man his size, maybe because he was a former high school basketball star. Has big, strong paws that only take one swat to throw defenders totally out of sorts. Massive amount of power and strength in the upper half of his body with the ability to ragdoll defenders. Big man, but moves like a small one, though 2019 was his only year in college at the left side. He played the right side before that. Has quick feet, obviously, and his last year showed the ability to mirror defenders quite well, especially in open space. Plays nasty and has an 83 and 2/8 wingspan. Crazy. Using his arms as clubs to move defenders out of the way. Great ability to get to the second level and finish off on a consistent basis when he does. His stature creates a mismatch for so many defenders, while his control and balance for his size is equally as impressive. No doubt about the fact that he's raw and still a work in progress in pass protection, as Louisville ran a screen and play action heavy offense. So when you dive into the analytics, he only had 73 true pass sets this year, which means true pass sets are dropbacks. So he only had 73 true pass sets this year and allowed 8 pressures on those for a 79.2 pass blocking grade from PFF, which is, I mean, if you do the math, he allowed over 10% of dropbacks he allowed a pressure. Has struggled at maintaining weight as it's fluctuated his whole college career. Needs to work on his patience as he can be overly aggressive at times, especially at the line of scrimmage. Besides Notre Dame, he didn't face a lot of quality edge players this year, Julian Aquara. Has to continue to improve the technique because he won't be able to throw grown men around with ease like he threw around players in college. Could also work on his leverage at the point of attack. Becton has elite combination of size and athleticism that is rare even at the next level. Though he is rawer than the top 3 tackles on my big board, like I said earlier, his upside and ceiling is arguably higher than all 3.
Well, as we all know, this is my guy here. I have him number 2. I changed. I have Wirfs. We talked about this earlier. I have Tristan Wirfs. I changed. Initially, I had Becton as my number 1 guy, but again, like you just talked about, he's much more raw than what Tristan Wirfs is. I personally think Tristan Wirfs is the most complete tackle in this draft. But anyway, with that being said, I am extremely high on this player. 6'7", 357 pounds, 35-inch arms, blew away the combine with his testing. I think with him, he just needs to get more discipline in his hand placement. That's his biggest issue. His hand placement is too inconsistent, especially like you said in your evaluation. He's not going to be able to just get his, just overpower and physically dominate, consistently players at the next level. That's where his technique, he needs to get more sound in his technique and hand placement. But 357, yeah, that's concerning about his weight fluctuation. 357, that's a little heavy. I would like to see him around a 335-ish, 330-ish pound range. And that's concerning moving forward. Is he going to, those are legitimate concerns. Is he going to eat his way out of the NFL? You know what I mean? That's a legitimate concern. But in terms of upside and ceiling, this kid here, man, is limitless. His ceiling is limitless, bro.
To put it into perspective for people that have listened to us, when people hear me talk about Jordan Love's upside, Makai Becton of the tackle class is that in terms of upside, what I think at least.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, his ceiling is his potential is limitless, and he would be again the top 3. If we were to land either one of them at 18, man, I would be I'm jumping out the window.
I see Makai Becton. I see Makai Becton being there in the teens, whether early, mid, or late, being a possibility. Because he's rawer than my top 3 guys. That's why I think. I still don't think he'll make it to the 20s. I don't think he'll make it to the 20s.
I am hearing Jedrek Wills. Jedrek Wills is getting a lot of steam at this point.
Well, I've heard that that's the tackle that the Dolphins have identified as their number 1 tackle on the big board. But we'll get into it.
But I love this kid. I think I would be perfectly happy if we select him. Again, fits the profile, scheme fit. This is definitely
if you get one of those top right tackles and you throw him on the left side, I got no problem with that at all.
Yeah, I love this kid. So very good.
My number 3 guy, who started off the year at the top of a lot of people's boards, is Mr. Andrew Thomas from Georgia, left tackle. So Andrew Thomas started the year out at the top of a lot of people's offensive tackle big boards, like I just said. And at the beginning of the 2019 season, in which he had a career high 92.4 overall PFF grade. In 2019, it was in large part due to his 89.0 PFF pass blocking grade and his 91.3 PFF run blocking grade. He only allowed 1 sack, 8 hurries, and 9 pressures this past season for a total of 5 sacks allowed, 25 hurries allowed, and 37 total pressures over the last 3 seasons, which is quite impressive. I mean, that's like what, 12.3 pressures a season he's averaging. That's pretty good. At 6'5", 315 pounds, Andrew Thomas has ideal strength for the next level to go along with his size and has shown great anchor ability on tape. That's one thing I can't stress enough. He has shown great anchor ability. And with an 83.48 inches wingspan, he has fantastic length to go along with it. Has an outstanding punch, so good that it can make up for his technical flaws at times. He's fairly agile for his frame too, and what stands out for him is that he graded this well in the SEC. Has a high football IQ pre-snap and post-snap, as he's consistently able to identify blitz and edge pressure. Could make the case that he's so versatile too, as he started 50 games at right tackle in his freshman season, where he only allowed 1 sack, 4 hits, and 12 hurries on 351 pass block snaps. His quickness allows him to mirror defenders pretty well too. Has quick footwork, especially in the run game, that lets him bulldoze defenders even on the second level. The footwork also allows him to be quick out of his stance consistently as well, which is another thing you see on tape. He had a bit of a tougher time with upper tier talent when he faced off against guys like Clavon Chason when he faced LSU. Has shown that speedy, athletic edge players can give him hassles going all the way back to his 2018 film. His footwork and pass protection isn't as fluid as it is when it's in run blocking sets. You can see examples, too, of where his balance isn't where you'd like it to be, and his hands are like cinder blocks instead of vice grips, where they're used aggressively but won't gain him control of the defender. Andrew Thomas's stout frame, quick feet, above-average athleticism, consistency, and the potential of playing him on either side of the offensive line make him arguably the safest pick in this entire tackle draft class.
Man, 100% agreement with you as well, Reza. Another excellent prospect. Yeah, he might be the safest pick. Yeah, love his profile, 6'5", 315, 36 arms. Profile is there again. His discipline, his hand placement, his bend are all. I look at this player and sound and consistency comes to mind. In terms of his his technique, hand placement. Yeah, I'm very, very high on him. Actually, I'm hoping that he's there at 18. In my opinion, I know I said Tristan Wirfs. I have him as the most complete tackle, but I don't think he's a realistic option for us because I think somebody will get him. And I think for us to trade back up into the top, the price might be a little too steep. And some team might be. I think teams are really in love with Tristan Wirfs' potential. But as far as realistic options, I'm hoping. I think he can be there at 18 or within striking distance of a trade up. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. From 18 to say, 12, 13, 14, 15. Another excellent scheme fit.
Yeah.
Devastating run blocker.
And Jeff Fremont has a good question. He said, at first he was top 5, then he slipped top 20. Any reason why? A lot of the reason why was the tape against good athletic edge guys. It wasn't that great. When he faced guys that you want to consider, like I said, upper tier, he got a little bit exposed, even out in space. So that was it, basically. And I mean, another thing is too, he had a lot of tight end protection to his left, and they were in a real pass heavy scheme with Jake Fromm back there too. So there are little things like that scouts look at, and that's why he like I said, you could call him the safest pick, but I don't think he has much of a ceiling left to bump his head on.
But again, I mean, we don't have to draft Jonathan Ogden.
No,
what I mean? We just need.
Oh, bro, he's more than serviceable. I just don't think. Yeah. I don't think he's ever gonna. I don't think you're ever gonna talk about him being a top 10 tackle in the NFL. I think he's gonna be on that cusp of top 10, like the guy who just hits number 10 or maybe sits at 9. You're not gonna see this guy as a top 5 tackle in the NFL. That's the thing when I look at it.
But I look at, I'll take that all day, every day.
Oh, for sure. He's a solid player, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Solid. That's all you need. You know.
And the thing is, like me and EM were talking about earlier, when you look at his tape, you kind of come to the realization that what you see is a lot of what you're going to get at the next level in terms of, like I said, I don't see a higher ceiling. I think pretty much he is a safe bet because what you see right now is so consistent and so good, and you're pretty much certain that you're going to get at least that at the next level.
And that's what you want, especially when you're picking that high in the draft. Any player, not just offensive tackle, but any player, whatever you see on tape when you're evaluating them, whatever you see on tape, you better have that your vision for that player and what you see on tape in alignment. You know what I mean? Because that limits your bust potential. That limits your, as I like to say, you're limiting. You want to limit as much projection as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean by that is you don't want to, if you have a vision for a player and he hadn't displayed that on tape, what he put on tape is not consistent to your vision. Okay, well then that's when you're staying in that projection. You're staying too far into that projection territory, and that's where teams get in trouble, especially when you're picking high. You want to stay out of that projection. You want to see what he does on tape, and it better be in alignment.
And you know what, Ian? You just gave them if anyone has any reason why I have Austin Jackson at 10, just literally look to what EM just told you. I think he's too much of a projection right now. That's my issue, bro. So, okay, let's get into number 2. So my number 2 guy is Jedrek Wills out of Alabama. And like I told EM today, a lot of these guys I had already watched a lot of tape on, so I just dived back in for refreshers. But Jedrek Wills, I said I wanted to watch some more tape on, and some things about his evaluation absolutely blew me away, including I didn't take his athleticism seriously enough.
I didn't either.
And then I watched more tape, and I was like, holy. So he's 6'4", 325 pounds, right tackle from Alabama. Only allowed 1 sack this year over a span of 450 pass block reps, which was the only sack he allowed in his whole career, with a total of 970 pass block reps to his name. Definition of a mauler. He has absolutely elite. He's absolutely elite in pass protection. At his combination of flexibility, footwork, and anchor ability are some of the best in this class, if not the best, as he's allowed only a 4% pressure rate for the 2nd year in a row this past season. He's nasty in the run game too, as he had a 90.1 run blocking grade from PFF, as he led the nation in big-time blocks last year. Hits like a beast on down blocks, seeking out and taking on blocks with ease at the 2nd level. One of the more athletic and agile tackles last year in all of college football that has no problem handling bull rushes either, and shows elite explosiveness out of his stances, who picks up stunts with the best of them that I've watched. Consistently takes good angles, is very effective out in open space, and has extremely good balance and control to his game. No problem taking on doubles at the line of scrimmage or linebackers at the 2nd level. He gets overly aggressive at times in pass protection, worries about throwing the hardest punch instead of timing it properly to take incoming defenders off of balance. Isn't overly impressive at picking up blitzes, something he definitely needs to work on. Don't know how versatile he can be at the next level, as he's never taken a snap from the left side. Keeps his hands low a lot, where he needs to break that habit and keep them high and tight more consistently, at least from what I saw on film. So he's so flexible with great power at the point of attack, loose hips, and good leverage. Jedrek Wills to me is a day 1 starter at right tackle in the NFL, and the talk about him being a guard is ridiculous. Could easily be a top 10 tackle in the NFL within 5 years if he continues to trend upwards the way he has in each season he's played.
Wow. Yeah, I fell asleep on this kid's athleticism as well, so I'm guilty of that as well. But in terms of, here's my situation. I'm coming from the perspective of, and this is where we might be, we might be in a disagreement. I don't deem him, Jedrek Wills, and Tristan Wirfs, they're primarily right tackles. And I get that if you're going by their athleticism, okay, and you say, well, you come from the standpoint of, okay, they're so good athletically, you can project them being on the left side. But again, me personally, number one, we could stand to use at this stage of Jesse Davis's development, we could stand to have an upgrade, but I don't think it's as a glaring hole as left side. At least Jesse Davis is serviceable. We have nothing on the left side. So with that being said, the reason why my preference is in Andrew Thomas, Becton, Josh Jones is because I think the left side is a more glaring need. But with that being said, excellent prospect. I would not be upset if Miami were to select him. I just think I'm leaning more towards the left side. And again, you can project him there, but again, have you seen him put it on tape? That's my only concern. You're getting into that.
What on tape?
Him playing the left side.
Oh, I don't look at that. I look at him as a right tackle, bro.
Right. But what I'm saying in terms of Miami Dolphins draft strategy.
Well, if we draft Tua, and you throw in the fact that not only is he a right tackle protecting his blind side, but they had that camaraderie in the.
I understand.
And like I said, even Armando Salguero reported that from what he understands, Jedrek Wills is at the top of their tackle draft board, and that makes me think hint, hint, wink, wink, left arm. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, listen. If that scenario comes to fruition, hey, I'm all for it. I'm just saying, I might be a little higher on Jesse Davis than what you are, obviously. But yeah, I would not be upset if Miami drafted Tua and then selected him to protect his blind side. I get that.
Give me Jedrek Wills and Josh Jones, and I'm happier than a pig. And you know what?
I hear you. I get it. I hear you. But again, until we select Tua, that's when I will change my
I get what you're saying. So right now, as it stands, with Fitzpatrick being the right guy, you know what I mean. That's what. And Rock Ramirez just asked. He can play left. He just said he can play left tackle. I'm just saying he hasn't played a snap in college, so that is a projection at left tackle. So I'm not going to go out on a limb and say he can or can't, because I go. You know me, bro. I go by the tape, bro. I don't go by
exactly.
I mean, the reason why Austin Jackson is 10 for me, like I said, he's too big of a projection. I'm like you, bro. I like to stay away from projections. That's why I look at Tua. It's difficult for me because you're not projecting the talent because it's there. You're trying to project his injury.
Right.
So, but I mean, the talent leaves nothing to project,
Right.
So
I agree, bro. But I'm high on Wills. I will not be upset at all if Miami selects him. You know what I mean? Especially if that scenario comes to fruition of drafting Tua and then selecting him.
Oh, agreed.
So, ecstatic.
So the number one guy on my board. I mean, if anyone's from the other platform, you know what's up and how long I've been saying this name for. So to me, the top guy in this class and the complete package with the highest upside next to Makai Becton and just above Josh Jones. So when you talk about upsides, if you want to rank these guys in upsides, I think it goes Makai Becton as like 1A, Tristan Wirfs as 1B, and then Josh Jones is 2. So, like I said, I've been banging the table since I joined the other platform months and months ago that this is the guy I want, and I still stand by this notion, especially if they're going to draft Tua Tagovailoa. An athletic freak at 6'5", 320 pounds, Wirfs ran a 4.85 40, which is absolutely ridiculous. Crazy. A 10-foot 1 inch broad jump and a 36.5 inches vertical leap, all in the 99th percentile. His 1.69 second 10-yard split was nothing to balk at either, as it was 98th percentile. Did you know this, EM? Did a little research, brother. He was a state champion wrestler in high school and also the 4th Iowa-born male to win both shot put and discus titles in consecutive years in high school, while also being the first to win 3 straight discus titles in Iowa since the 1950s. He broke Brandon Schreff's hang clean record when he was only 20 years old at Iowa State. Has improved steadily every year at tackle as his pressures each year have gone down while his grades have gone up. Graded out at a 90.2 by PFF as a run blocker and 88.7 in pass protection as he allowed only 2 sacks, 2 hits, and 3 hurries this year. Over a course of 1,138 pass block snaps, he's allowed just 6 sacks, 0 in his sophomore season, 8 hits, 26 hurries, only 3 this past season in terms of hurries, and a total in those snaps of 40 pressures. He has 34-inch arms and an 80-inch with 2/8 wingspan. One of the more powerful tackles in college while also having some of the smoothest footwork in this draft class makes him such an overly intriguing prospect. Not only does he have the strengths and handwork to control opponents, especially at the line, on the off chance he gets beat, people sleep on how good his recovery skills because they are really damn near elite. He has dominant mitts. When he extends his arms out, whatever defender is in front of him is getting pushed backwards and totally thrown off balance. Takes on bull rushes with no issue and has consistently shown that he won't give up a foot in terms of allowing defenders to push it back towards the pocket. Has legit versatility as he took 693 snaps from the right tackle position this year and 161 from the left tackle position this year as well. Graded above 85 by PFF in overall, where he was 91.3, run block, pass block, his zone grade, his gap grade, and in his true pass sets, which, like I said, true pass sets are considered dropbacks. So that omits screens, play action. It's just true dropbacks. Needs to improve in taking on linebackers at the second level, but has no problems getting there. Plays too high sometimes for my liking, which affects his power game when taking on defenders. Needs to improve on his vertical pass sets. This is where the guard talk all stemmed from. Wirfs is tremendous in space due to his freakish athleticism. He has a very strong anchor, great footwork, and when he plays violent, he's very explosive, which sometimes that comes into question. People say sometimes he'll contain that violence when he needs to unleash it. His overall technique is where it needs to be to transition to the next level smoothly, especially in his footwork, and so is his patience at the line of scrimmage. Like I said, he's the most complete package to me when I look at technique, size, power, athleticism, and remaining upside left to reach at the tackle position in this draft.
Oh, yeah. Crazy athlete. 6'5", 320, 4.85 in a 40-yard dash. Crazy athlete. Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. Before the combine, I wasn't, and I got to give you credit. You've been banging the table for this prospect all year long. I didn't see
that panel, bro.
Yeah, and I didn't see. Again, and it's partially my fault because I didn't watch a lot of tape. When I watched tape.
Who watches Iowa?
Right, exactly. And then when I watched, when I did, put on Iowa's tape, I was focused more on Epinesa as opposed to him.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, he's a crazy athlete. He's the most complete athlete in terms of overall athleticism, technique, fundamentals, power. I mean, what more can you say about this kid? And it's not really a knock, but again, he plays on the right side. And until I hear Tua's name,
right?
Yeah, but he's primarily a right tackle.
Yeah, but he almost had 200 pass blocking snaps alone on the left side this year. 161 is nothing to buck your nose up at.
Yeah. I agree, but still, it's still somewhat of a rejection. And he could, again, if you're just going by if you evaluating his measurables, he could easily transition to, he could transition to the left side.
Well, and he's another guy who I think he could be, I think he could be dominant at tackle, and I think he could be dominant at guard. I think he's another guy where I don't think he'd have a problem. I would play him at tackle, but if a team slid him in at guard, I think he'd be very, very dominant.
Yeah, if you're just going by measurables alone, bro, he definitely translates. But again, the most complete tackle in the draft. Yeah, I just don't think he'd be a realistic option for Miami because
It's
he's
going
going
to
to
go too high.
He's going to go too high. So but yeah, total 100% agreement with you. This is my most complete, maybe not the most ideal pick for the Miami Dolphins, in my opinion, but the most complete tackle, hands down, in this draft.
So my question to you then is, would you trade up into the top 10 if Wirfs or Wills were sitting there at number 8 or number 9 and you selected Tua Tagovailoa?
I'm sorry, what's that reason? Say it again.
So my question to you is, Wirfs, okay, let's say Wirfs or Jedrek Wills are sitting there at 8, 9, or 10 or whatever. Would they deem worth trading up for if you have to go back into the back end of the top 10?
Oh, worse, definitely, absolutely. I might not be, and it might be a lack of film study in regards to Jedrek Wills. I might not be as high on him as you are. Well, I don't think I am. But for worse, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm, all day I'm making that trade if he's sitting there. But again, according to reports, Miami's high on Jedrek Wills. If that same scenario, presented itself and Wirfs is sitting there, Jedrek Wills is sitting there, I'm not going to be upset if Miami, entertains that. Not at all. But to answer your question, if Tristan Wirfs is sitting there, oh, absolutely, I'm definitely entertaining that. But again, if Jedrek Wills is sitting there, it just depends on what it's going to cost. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
I just think this kid's athleticism, it's freakish. Again, what do coaches, when you're picking high in the draft, what do they value over everything else? Elite physical traits. And this kid is athletic, is as athletic as it gets. Yeah. So I could definitely justify them, entertaining a trade up for this kid if he's sitting there. But Wills, I'm not going to be upset, but I'm just not as high on him as you are. But I'm not going to be upset at all.
So, do you want to take some questions from the comment section?
Oh, absolutely. That's fine, man.
Okay, so I answered this in the chat, but I'll answer it here. Did Josh Jones have any major injuries, guys? And Jeff, from what we know, durability is not a concern with Josh Jones at all. I don't know if EM's heard anything, but I haven't seen or heard any injuries. So
I haven't either.
Pretty clean bill of health from what we understand. All right, let's see what else we got here. So before I get to more questions, who do you look at this guy? We got trolls already, yeah. So who do you is the best one if you're gonna sit there at 18, and who to you do you deem is worth trading up for? Like, would you let a guy like Makai Becton or Andrew Thomas fall to you?
Well, if Becton is within striking distance, I'm definitely entertaining a trade up for him because of that ceiling is just crazy. I'm more inclined to sit tight with Andrew Thomas because, like you said, his ceiling is not as high. Again, I'd be ecstatic if Miami were to get him at 18, but I just think in terms of trade ups, when you're seeing value, teams generally, again, it's always 9 times out of 10 those elite physical traits, and that dude Becton, Makai Becton, that is crazy upside, and those type of players you want to entertain a trade up for. You want to entertain giving up extra capital to make that trade up for. Andrew Thomas, I don't see the elite. He's not obviously as athletic as Becton or worse. So that's another reason why, in terms of Wills, Jedrek Wills, I would necessarily entertain a trade up for him because I don't necessarily think. I think he's got good athleticism, but not elite. And generally, when you're in terms of trades, when you're giving up extra capital,
is Becton a day one? And this is George Albanese's question. Here you go. Is Beck to you? And this is based segue off what you just said. Is Becton the day one starting tackle on this team?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Julian Davenport is like. Yeah.
You know what I mean? No, absolutely. Day one.
Even a guy who is a bit raw or will probably beat out Julian Davenport, especially someone with the athletic ability of Makai Becton, will just make him look silly probably.
But I think either one, if we select, if we were able to get Wirfs or Jedrek Wills or right tackle, they're going to start day one.
Yeah.
You know, Jesse Davis will be kicked inside at that point. But either tackle they select, right or left, they're starting day one, period.
So Jeff Fremont asked, so is it better to move up to move the 26th pick to 15 than 18 to 9 if we have to make moves to get 2 quality O-line players? So basically what he's saying, should we use the 18th and the 26th, like the 26th to move back up to 15 and to get a guy like a Becton or a Thomas who's slipping there, and then use the 18th to move back up into 9 to get one of those right tackles because we have so much capital? I like that idea, Jeff. I think, you know what? I know that might be boring to a lot of people, but, you know, I said this earlier, like, if you're going to get a guy like Tua, and I've been saying this for time, if you're going to get a guy like Tua, build that brick wall. So, God forbid, if something does happen to Tua, you can draft your next guy and put him behind a stout offensive line and keep the momentum and keep the train moving, chugging along.
I agree with that, bro. I agree.
It's just going to be all about what we have to mortgage to move up to those picks.
But I mean, you know, like a lot, I've noticed, like, and I'm guilty of that as well. Considering what we did based off of free agency, I mean, other than like glaring holes, obvious holes, you know, safety, nose tackle, offensive line. And I know a lot of the fan base, and again, like I said, I'm guilty of it as well. I don't want to give up additional capital, ideally. But with what we did in free agency, do we really have that many? I mean, do we really have that many holes, you think? You know what I mean? And my point is, we can entertain trade-ups to give up, you know, and mortgaging, you know, additional capital. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I just don't think, like, our fan base.
Outside your tackles and the quarterback, you really only have to worry about a defensive tackle and a safety.
That's it. I mean, really,
those are our next 2 big boards coming for you guys. But yeah, anyways.
Exactly. So really, do we really have that many holes? Reason I have to ask. I agree. Or our fan base.
They used free agency like a draft where they just plugged holes. It was crazy.
They did. And
all signings were smart, concise, and they didn't waste a signing. That's what I liked most about it.
Exactly. So, you know, in terms of, you know, being aggressive, moving up and trading up, you know, being aggressive in terms of trades, I definitely think, and I fully expect Miami to be aggressive on draft day.
And like I've told EM, and like I believe I've said on the other platform, what I've heard that they fielded a lot of calls on that 26th pick, and they don't want to move off that 18th pick because they have plans to potentially move up to grab a tackle with that if the guy they like isn't there. And I heard that like a month and a half ago. And that was from a pretty reliable guy. So, I mean, that's what's crazy to me about that. I think the tackle is in play. I think if they're going to draft Tua, I definitely think they're going to make a play for whichever one falls deeper, being Wirfs or Wills. So, anyways, Rhino's asked if Tristan Wirfs can play left tackle if needed. And I want to also preface what I said earlier. His 161 snaps at left tackle this year, they were due to injury at the left tackle position. So he slid over there until they got it figured out, and then he moved back. So he's shown let's put it this way. There's like a Jedrek Wills who's never played left tackle one snap. Although you could both technically call them projections at left tackle, Wirfs is a safer projection because he has snaps you can watch at left tackle, whereas Jedrek Wills does not.
Hmm.
I don't know if you agree with that or not, Em.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Well, it's if you're going to play him, if you're going to project him to the left tackle position primarily, again, it's more of a projection, but his athleticism indicates, yeah, he can do that. It should be a seamless transition for him.
So last name
by his measurables.
Last name Bird asks, what if we trade down with the Raiders and get 12 and 19 and pick a tackle at 12?
Trade down from 5?
I think that's what he means.
No, I'm not trading. Well,
I'm only entertaining a trade back from 5 and Burrow and
if
Tua
is not there. Yeah. Only way I'm entertaining a possible trade. Only way.
Yeah. And you got to kind of blow me away a little bit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's where I stand with that. Rock asks, what if we trade up to the number 3 overall pick and keep the number 5 overall pick? Would you do it?
Oh, absolutely. We talked about this before. That's what Miami needs to be trying to do, in my opinion. Yeah. I would be trying to mortgage 1826, maybe 1826, maybe a second this year, maybe a second next year to move up and to keep, because you're getting 2 blue chip talents. You're getting your quarterback, and you can either get, I think if this scenario actually came to fruition, Isaiah Simmons will be the target.
So I want to give people a realistic cost of what this would cost. Okay, if you don't touch the 5th pick, this is a realistic cost. So the Detroit pick is worth about $2,200. Okay, so the Miami at 18 is worth $900, and Miami at 26 is worth $700. So we're at $1,600. Okay, we need to figure out another $600 to even get to that 22. So you add in the 39th. And you're at 2,110. You're still 90 points below. So that means you're probably going to have to give your 18th, your 26th, your 39th, and either a 2nd or 3rd from next year or a 3rd or 4th from this year.
I'm doing that all day. I would definitely entertain that. You could get Tua as well as worse. If Miami thinks if he's the number 1 tackle on their board, you know what I mean? That's crazy. 2 blue chip talents. I would definitely be entertaining that if I'm Miami, but I just don't think, either of the teams in the top 5, they wouldn't take that because they want to get this year. They want to get a blue chip level talent in the top 5. I don't think, I don't think they would entertain that, but. I would definitely be trying to do that.
So Christian Foster asks, would you be upset if we drafted Wirfs at 5?
Over Tua? Well, that depends. If Tua is sitting on the board, I would go ballistic. I'm throwing my computer out of the window. You're kidding me? No. I would be extremely upset if they pass over Tua and draft a tackle at 5. Yeah. Oh man. So, but
hey, bro, they got to protect Rosen, all right? Someone's got to get him gloves to protect his. Get him a pair of gloves instead of a pair of tackles, so he can protect his fingers from those paper cuts, from the paper on the clipboard.
I know, right?
Make sure they're laminated, guys, so he doesn't cut his fingers from flipping through the pages. So, Mr. Two Bits, do you believe there is any chance that Miami doesn't take an offensive lineman in the 1st round? And if so, would you be upset?
Well, it's a possibility. It's a possibility. It just depends on what they select in the place of the tackle. You know what I mean? Again, we New England has built a dynasty of less of drafting lesser tier talented in terms of draft status offensive linemen. They have built a dynasty off that. So Again, Flores was, he was a member of that organization for 15 years. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the philosophies he's tried to implement are in South Florida, very similar to New England. So we should be mindful of that. You know what I mean? That they might think they can find guys later in the draft based off, what he saw up front in New England. So anything is possible. But again, I would be more upset with what they left on the board. Like if Makai Becton is sitting there at 18, or, especially like a Tristan Wirfs is sitting there at 18, and you opt to select, a safety at 18. I'm not going to be upset, but I would be, that would rub me. I would feel some type of way about that scenario. Really
so Christian Foster asks, where does Tyler Biadasz rank for you guys? So for me, I can't speak for him, but for me, if I give you my top 4 centers, my top 4 centers would be, number 1 would be Ruiz, number 2 would be Cushenberry, number 3 would be Biadasz, and number 4 would be Matt Hennessy. And Matt Hennessy and Tyler Biadasz, to me, are very neck and neck.
I don't know why Biadasz coming into this year, man. That kid was like.
It was again another guy.
A lot of NFL circles, they considered him as being
talent, right. It wasn't that great, his tape, when he faced big time talent.
Yeah, man. I don't know what's going on with him, man. But it just, it's all about where we're picking and what's available,
So look at Sharif's got
something. I don't think he warrants a.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
You chopping up, Reason? What'd you say, bro?
No, I said go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'm still high on Biadasz. I'm just not. I don't think he warrants, based off what he put on tape this year, he warrants a. Definitely not a first round, maybe not even a second round pick. I would entertain him in the third. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Ruiz is my favorite in terms of the centers. He's my best. He's my number one possibility. But I'm just not as high on him as I was coming into this year. I personally thought Creed Humphrey was I favored Creed Humphrey from Oklahoma as the premier center. But he opted to go back another year next year. Yeah. So he would have been, if he would have come out this year, he'd have been my number 1 prospect at that position. But
and Sharif West makes a good point here. So he says, he says, I would take Becton at 5 if the 49ers or Raiders do not trade up for our 5th. And what I'm going to go off here is me and EM had a discussion earlier, and what he's hearing is that the 49ers are very, very quietly, but very, very high on Justin Herbert. And that could be why they moved up to where they did, to be in play for Herbert, not necessarily the defensive tackle or the receiver that a lot of people are assuming. Mm-hmm. Is that correct, Ian?
That's 100% correct, bro. So, absolutely.
So, Chris Solo asked, if Tua is the QB, what did the Dolphins go with first, a left tackle or a right tackle in the draft?
Well, if you're drafting Tua, me personally, even if we select Tua, I would opt to target the left tackle because Tua is going to redshirt anyway. So, again, I'm a little higher on Jesse Davis than a lot of our fan base is. I think he's serviceable, and I think he won't, based off his play, the last, I would say, 7 to 8 games of the season, that warrants a further investment at right tackle. But Tua is redshirting this year. I think so. The right tackle position is not as, impressive, as a big of a need as the left side. So me personally, I would still prioritize the left side, and then next year, who knows? Jesse Davis might turn out to be, Pro Bowl, he might make the Pro Bowl next year. And then we don't have to go into next year's draft worried about a right tackle. But that scenario is highly unlikely. But I would prioritize left side in next year when Tua is 150% healthy and he's ready to take the reins. I would prioritize the right side out of free agency, or if Jesse Davis's play is still subpar.
Mm-hmm. So I would, me personally, I've said this before, I would prioritize getting one of 2, Jedrek Wills or Tristan Wirfs if I got Tua. I mean, I just would. I love Wirfs, but I can put my own bias aside, and I can realize that Tua is comfortable with Jedrek Wills. Jedrek Wills has a lot of upside. He has a great combination, like I said, of athleticism. He has good footwork, he has good speed, good quickness. So that wouldn't bug me at all if they made the move up for him. Rock asks, do you think we can get Jedrek Wills and Andrew Thomas? And I'll give my opinion first. I think, Rock, you would have to package that 18th, like we were talking about earlier. You'd have to package that 18th. You have to move back into the top 10 to go get Wills. And then I think with Andrew Thomas, you'd have to hope that he slides into those early to mid-teens, and then you'd have to package that 26th with some picks, and you have to move back up. I think that's the only way it's going to happen. I don't think one's going to fall to us at 18 and the other's going to fall to us at 26. I think the only one that has a chance of falling to 18 out of those two is Andrew Thomas, but I still think he's going to be a top 15 pick.
Yeah, you know what? You know, that trade back up into the first and the top half of the second round. I'm sorry, jumping from 18 to back up into the top 10. I don't necessarily like that because the higher picks we would have to mortgage to get back into the top 10. Because again, I think it's, there are, 3 players that I deem Miami I'm praying that they get. Obviously, it would with the exception of the quarterback, it would be Becton, DeAndre Swift again, who, in my opinion, next to Tua Tagovailoa is my favorite player in this draft, I think, and I think they definitely need to get a safety. So, but I think, to be honest with you, again, if they just prioritize the left tackle at 18, they sit back and be patient. One of those guys are going to slide. Mm-hmm. That's just if you're just going off the way the draft unfolds every single year. Yeah. One of those guys are going to slide. So thinking Miami has to jump the gun to entertain this trade and that trade. No, just be patient, see how the board falls, and see what value falls to you or is within striking distance. But jumping back up into getting impatient and jumping back up into the top 10, having to mortgage that 39th pick, mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That could be DeAndre Swift sitting on the board. That could be Antoine Winfield sitting on the board. You know what I mean? Cesar Ruiz sitting on the board. No, just be patient and see how the board falls to you. So one of those guys are going to fall. Trust me. I can guarantee that. One of those guys are going to fall.
So Rhino Sith asks, are any of the second and third round tackles realistic possibilities to be starters? So I kind of went through some of these guys in my 6 to 10. Like I think Ezra Cleveland, I think Isiah Wilson, I think Lucas Niang. Those are guys you're going to see go off the board probably the second. I think they have a lot of potential. I think they can win starting jobs. Other guys, there's a lot of guys outside of my top 10 I like too. Like I really like Prince Tega Winogo from Auburn. I think that guy has potential to be a starter. I really like Matt Pert from Connecticut. I think that guy has a chance to be a starter. I like Ben Barch from St. John's, another guy I think has a chance to be a starter. And another guy who's falling on a lot of people's boards, and it's not because of a lack of talent, is Shadiq Charles from LSU. I think that's another guy who has a chance to be a starter, and from what I've heard, we've interviewed him. So, and he's only falling. He's one of those guys. He's falling because of maturity and attitude concerns, off-field concerns, but the talent's there. So there are second and third round starters in this draft class. It's deeper than what people are giving it credit for. Like there are 13 tackles out of the top 15 I can identify and I can look at and say, you either will be a day one starter or you can be a day one starter. You know what I mean?
And again, look who they have to beat out, Julian Davenport. Yeah. So it's a real, absolutely. So yeah, it's definitely a possibility.
Chris Solo asks, do you like Raekwon Davis at defensive tackle in the third round? Yes, I do.
Oh, absolutely.
I think he's going to go in the second.
You think the second round, really?
I think he's going to go back end of the second, early third.
But yeah, absolutely.
I like him a lot, man.
I'm all over him.
Yeah, I like him a lot, man. Obviously not my top defensive tackle, but
that would be Derek Brown, correct?
Yeah. So Jeff Fremont asks, has Tunsil signed the contract? No, he turned down over $18 million a year annually. This guy's looking for 20 plus million a year. He turned down $18 million annually from the Texans. Thank God. That's ridiculous.
Wow. That's an interesting situation to be paying attention to. Man, what if Bill O'Brien turned around and traded him, bro? Tried to flip him for something. Mm-hmm. He might. That's a man. Yeah, that's a situation we need to be paying close attention to. He might be trying to, in some way, trying to get back to South Florida, bro. He might be.
So Sharif West says, recently I think Tua has fallen because of Laura Rutledge and Trent Dilfer. I think the stock has fallen. Recently failed medicals. We can get Tua at 18. I'll tell you right now, you're not getting Tua at 18. Simon Clancy, first of all, I want to say this thing. The whole injury thing, the whole wrist injury thing that came out is bogus. It was proven to be bogus by Simon Clancy. They provided pictures, 3 days of supposedly he was after this surgery or whatever he had, where he was out there throwing the ball on the field. So that was proven to be false. That's not true at all. In terms of the two teams that failed him on their medicals, yeah, they failed him on medicals. But they didn't fail him on the medicals that they've gotten from the combine and beyond. They failed him strictly on his past history, being the hip and the ankles, etc. They just deemed him too much of a durability issue. They didn't fail him off a medical that they conducted or that someone in the NFL conducted and they got the results back on. He was strictly failed based upon his past history.
That's crazy. That's probably a team that doesn't have any realistic chance of even, dream of selecting him, bro, having the opportunity to select him. So I'm not paying attention to that. Yeah, but I did see where Simon Clancy came out and he debunked that whole article. So not paying much attention to that, bro. Just a lot of smoke.
So Infinite Trauma asks, would you guys draft 5 or more offensive linemen in the draft, basically grabbing a whole new line?
5 or more? Wow. It just depends on what's available. You know what I mean? Once you get later in the draft, it just depends on what value falls. If there's value, you should take that approach. Considering what we did in free agency, you should take that approach to every other position as well. It's what you did, the grades that you have on the players that fall to you. If 3rd, 4th, 5th round, if there's tremendous value there, absolutely you select them. You know what I mean? Developmental players, absolutely. It just depends on the value that falls to you. So I could see. I wouldn't be upset if Miami select 5. I don't know about 5 or more. I don't even know about 5. I would say 4 offensive linemen. But again, it's just what value falls to you.
So I'm going to show you guys a little treat. I'm going to explain that. So we've been doing these big boards, guys, and we're going to do we'll keep going with the questions. We'll get back to your questions in a second, starting with you, Chris Solo. But we're going to be doing the safety and defensive tackle big boards next, and they're going to happen next week because we want to get into the mock drafts. Safety aiming for Monday-ish, and then defensive tackle maybe like Wednesday or Thursday. Might have a video in between there because EM does have his edge evaluation signing show of Van Noy, Ogba, and Shaq Lawson, but we're just pushing it back because it's draft season right now. And I got a special treat for you guys. I'm going to answer a few more questions, and then I want to show you guys something, a recent mock draft I did. I'll set it up I'm going to show you guys the results. I did the draft, but I'm going to set it up with you because there were certain restrictions I had to abide by. So Chris Solo asked McKinney or Delpit at safety. So to me, Chris Solo, you guys are going to be shocked. I mean, for me, we haven't decided which one of us is doing the safety show yet because the defensive side is where EM's going to shine. Especially at defensive tackle. I'll tell you right now, the defensive tackle show that we know right now is going to be done by EM. But in terms of safety, where I have Delpit, so I have McKinney, Antoine Winfield Jr., Ashton Davis, and Jeremy Chin all ahead of Grant Delpit in my personal top 5. So I'm not high on Delpit. Tackling was seriously an issue, and when you look at the 2018 tape and the 2019 tape, even down to his technique, you see a lot of issues popping up. So yeah, I'm not that high on as most on Delpit. I don't know how EM feels.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I'm not high on Delpit as well. In terms of the first round, maybe even the second, but yeah, I just think he's a one-dimensional. There's not a lot of versatility to his game. I think he's a prototypical in-the-box safety with tackling issues.
Go ahead. You make your Rashad Jones comparison, right?
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. He's, again, love Rashad Jones, but we all saw over the years, the holes in Rashad Jones's game, and I see a lot of that in Grant Delpit.
So Christian Foster asked, honest opinion on the Tua Pro Day video. So for me, on the other platform where we were earlier, I didn't agree what someone else said in terms of stiffness. I didn't notice it, especially throwing the slants. He was planting well, pointing his foot well, making clean, crisp throws. The slants look good. The screens look good. Again, that same I didn't see a deep ball that was being talked about because he didn't have deep yardage to work with inside that facility. I liked what I saw. His footwork is as hypnotizing as ever. The best footwork in this class, hands down, and some of the best footwork I've ever seen on tape. I think his pro day tape is very, very encouraging, man. I know Trent Dilfer got a lot of people mad yesterday when he talked about how Tua as a thrower, where he clarified today and he said he thinks Tua is as good of a thrower as Marino and Aaron Rodgers, etc. Whereas yesterday was taken out of context and apparently he said he was a better thrower. But man, one thing I know people knock Trent Dilfer for his playing days, and that's fine, you can, but there's things you can't take away from either him or Jordan Palmer, and that's that they know how to coach the position. They know what to look for, and they have the track record, especially Trent Dilfer, when it comes to these guys. I mean, name a top college prospect in the last 5 years, and they've either been invited to and didn't make it, or they were on the Elite 11. I mean, so I don't know why people aren't. You know what? If anyone's word I'm going to take more than gospel, it's going to be Trent Dilfer when it comes to Tua, because he's seen him since he was a kid. And that's the thing. Trent Dilfer, he's not just saying what he's saying now. It's been consistent since Tua was on the Elite 11. It's nothing new. I agree. That's what I'm saying. It's nothing new. He's not overly promoting him. It's just he's regurgitating what he's been saying for years, man.
Yeah. That's his evaluation. And he's, again, just do your research. You can go back years, 4 or 5 years ago. He has been saying this about Tua again since he was on Elite 11. But in terms of his workout, I think he looked phenomenal considering, where he is.
How far he's come? Like, Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. Where he
far, guys.
Like, I know. It's crazy to me, man.
He wasn't supposed to have a pro day when this all went down, man. So
Exactly. And I don't know what the hell.
You know what is that saying? That? It's the toughness. People want to say he has durability issues, fine, but you can't deny this kid's tough.
Oh, yeah. And I don't know what the hell. I don't know who the hell was that saying that on TD's platform that he saw stiffness and limited mobility. I don't even know who that was that said that. I'm like, bro, I want to say, what the heck? What are you watching, dude?
Doctors have already come out and said his range of motion is back to what it was before the injury.
I mean, He looks so fluid. His feet, his hips, the range of motion. I mean, look at all of the look at the tape that look at what he put on tape. I mean, I just think he looks, especially considering where he's at in his rehabilitation. He's way ahead of schedule. He looked phenomenal to me. I'm sure he's not 100%. I would err on, in terms of him being able to start a game tomorrow and play. I would err on the side of caution in that regard. But considering how, where he is in his rehabilitation, just in November, whatever date that was, to where he sustained this devastating hip injury, man, he is. I mean, I think he looks phenomenal. I really do. I don't see any limitations at all in terms of his movement. None.
No.
So
go on. You know what to do, Mr. Chris Greer. Okay, so last name Bird asks who has the highest upside in the draft as far as the offensive line perspective. So I went over this. I'll let EM say it, but I'll just give mine quickly. If you're looking for me to rank the top three out of those guys that I had in the top 10 in terms of upside, to me, 1A is Makai Becton, 1B is Tristan Wirfs, and number 2 is Josh Jones. And then number 3 would be Jedrek Wills.
I think as far as highest upside, I'm going to go with Makai Becton. I know I said that Tristan Wirfs is the most complete tackle. But I think if only two things I'm concerned about. Well, really, the biggest issue I'm concerned about with Makai Becton is his weight fluctuation. That's not good, and he's playing, he's 356 pounds. That's a little heavy. He's definitely going to have to get his weight under control.
And you know what the scary thing is? The restaurants in Miami and the money he's going to have to buy the lavish meals. You know what I mean? You're gonna have to watch
right?
But Rock asked something here that perfectly segues to what I wanted to show everyone. I'll get back to your questions after I show you guys what I'm about to show you. But Rock Rims asks, what do you think about Jonah Jackson, offensive guard from Ohio State? I think he's being overlooked. Well, I'm glad you asked, Mr. Rock, because I'm going to show you guys something. So Omar Kelly put out a challenge a couple days ago. He said you have to use FanSpeak, Matt Miller draft board, put it on difficult setting, etc., etc. I did everything he asked. I'm going to show you guys with the haul that I came away with. So at number 5, I took Tua Tagovailoa. At number 18, Makai Becton slipped to me, and I took him. At number 26, I took Antoine Winfield. At number 39, I took Cesar Ruiz. At number 56, I took Jonathan Taylor. At number 70, I went out and got that right tackle to complement Makai Becton. I went and got Lucas Niang. At 141, I went and I got Shane Lemieux. You slot him at right or left guard, no problem. At 153, I went out and got Tyler Johnson from Minnesota. Love this kid. This is my sleeper receiver. Tyler Johnson, Minnesota. Remember the name. Absolute stud in the red zone. Absolute stud. Number 154, I went and got outside linebacker Marcus Bailey from Purdue, who's shown on tape he can play the edge, no problem. 173, I went and got that nose tackle that I think is going to be a deep pick that could eventually develop into a starter, Devon Hamilton from Ohio State. Rock. At 185, I went and I got Jonah Jackson, guard from Ohio State. At 227, I got Jordan Fuller, safety from Ohio State. I cannot believe he was there. Jordan Fuller, I'm very high on in the safety class in terms of sleeper picks. When you get outside of that top 10, I think he's one of those guys that could develop into something more than serviceable in the NFL. I took Justin Herron from Wake Forest, left tackle. Getting that depth. 251, I took the backup to the Tua plan. I took Anthony Gordon from Washington State, who, if you watched my big board draft, I had him at number 6 on my big board. I went with the whole method of RG3 Kirk Cousins. I got my insurance policy. This basically signals the end of Josh Rosen. So, yeah, I think when you look at that haul, this is a difficult setting with Matt Miller's board. Man, to me, look at this draft, bro. You telling me this isn't a win? Holy!
Oh my God!
It's
A
sexy.
plus.
You know what I mean? So I think, man, we got enough picks, EM, where I'm doing these mocks, and I'm always coming away with hauls, man. I mean, if they play their cards right, there's no way they could fail this, bro. I know it can happen, but like there is a low, minuscule chance that they're gonna drop this ball if they play their cards right. Just because of, man, up until the pick 70, we dominate this draft. We can do whatever we want.
That's a crazy haul, bro. Oh my God!
And that was not difficult. That was not difficult. That was not hard.
I'd go crazy. I'd go absolutely crazy, bro. That's a crazy haul. I see this guy is asking me in the comment section, am I still high on Gross Matos? Do I think Gross Matos is a better prospect than Chase Young? Can you hear me all right, Reason?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead and answer the question.
Yes, I just think in terms of, see, I really wanted to see both of them and see how they tested at the combine to really finalize my evaluation on both players. But what I said was, I think Gross Matos is a better fit based off what he was asked to do at Penn State compared to what Chase Young did at Ohio State. Okay. I just think Gross Matos,
you can move him around more. He's way more versatile.
Yeah, he's so much more of a versatile player than what. I'm just going off the tape now. Just going off the tape. Chase Young is a it is no knock on him. It's just what Ohio State, how they deployed him. So I'm just going again. What I said earlier about when you're drafting a player, especially that high, you're making that kind of investment in a player. You better have a vision for that player, and you better be able to cross-reference that on what you've seen on tape. So with that being said, implementing Yetur Gross-Matos into our defensive scheme, I just think he's put more consistently on tape the responsibility I think that would be placed upon him in our scheme. So that's why I said I think he would be a better fit. Now Chase Young, again, if you're just gonna play him with his hand in the dirt and just have him one gap and penetrate and just go after the quarterback all day long, yeah, he's more refined than Gross Matos in that aspect. But overall, based off the skill set that he's exhibited, more consistently than Chase Young, yeah, I just think he's a better fit for our defense than what from what I've seen on tape and what Chase Young is. Mm-hmm. So, but again, I was eagerly anticipating how they both tested at the combine, but neither one of them wound up, testing at the combine. Mm-hmm. So, and then what's going on now in the world and everything is preventing a lot of these guys to have pro days and whatnot. So, so yeah, but I just think he's a better fit at this point.
So Infinite Trauma asks, McKinney or Winfield, who can you see Flores choosing? And I actually see him choosing Antoine Winfield because of the pedigree. Flores has been on record as saying that Antoine Winfield Sr. was one of his favorite players ever. And Winfield Jr. is, to me, a better version of his father, just in a more compact frame. And I think he can do much more in terms of, I think he's faster, and you see him as a punt returner and a kick returner, and he blows you away. Yeah, he has a few little questions about his durability, but Winfield Jr., to me, based on the pedigree, he seems more of a Flores guy than McKinney.
And from the standpoint, obviously, I prefer Winfield Jr., and I'm coming primarily from the standpoint of his versatility. I mean, he's a converted wide receiver. Okay, we all know how New England loves to convert wide receivers to safeties. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We all know how they love to convert guys, and he's a converted converted corner. Did I say wide receiver or cornerback? Converted cornerback. I'm sorry. And how he was used and how he was deployed at Minnesota, how they had him playing strong safety, free safety. They had him playing in the slot, had him playing inside the box. That's why when we on TD Stream a couple days ago, we were having a debate about Antoine Winfield, where we were comparing Isaiah Simmons and Antoine Winfield. I think in terms of versatility, I think he's as versatile as a Isaiah Simmons. He's just not as imposing of an athlete as Isaiah Simmons is. So the tons of versatility, tons of versatility in his game, and I think he would just be at that stage in the draft when you're comparing him, Xavier McKinney, Ashton Davis, all these other Chin. I just think he's a better fit because of the high level of versatility he has in his game. So yeah, I think and also the pedigree, like Reason alluded to.
Mm-hmm. So Rhino, first of all, I just want to say Ashton Davis. I think him and Antoine Winfield are the best fits for what we're trying to do. That's what I believe personally. But so Rhino says, I've read the hip specialist doctor said to his hip was better than before the injury. And actually, Rhino, what you heard is 110% right. That came out. We had a private chat with me, EM, Ball Game, and TD. And when I dropped that in the private chat yesterday, and they tried to spin it and try to say, oh, so what are you saying? His other hip is weak now? So they're just trolling us about that. Yeah, I don't know. Chris Solo asks, can Gross Matos be the next Jason Taylor?
I agree. I think he can give you Jason Taylor's. They're very comparable players. I just think Gross Matos is a bigger, stronger version of what Jason Taylor is. But absolutely. Again, people are sleeping on him, and I think people just got Chase Young is a sexy name. Yeah. Chase Young is the name that they've been hyping up all year long on SportsCenter, on FS1, all of these other,
even Chase Young's way more versatile than him. Yeah, and he's just as effective, and he's really effective.
Exactly. Chase Young has just been the sexy name, but I keep telling you, if you dig into the film and you evaluate these other prospects, especially Yetur Gross-Matos, who happens to be my favorite for his versatility, he is a Flores guy, I'm telling you, to a T. And I've seen recently a couple mocks, they were mocking him to us at 18. Mm-hmm. So I would not be upset if that scenario unfolds.
Yeah.
But yeah, people, again, I've been telling people all year on TD Stream, they are just, Chase Young is, and again, all due respect to Chase Young, he's exceptional pass rusher at this level.
Yeah.
But again, scheme fit is everything at the next level. Yeah, everything. I don't care what anybody tells you.
He would have too many responsibilities in this defense that he's never shown on tape that he can do.
Scheme fit is everything.
Yeah. And Infinite Trauma, he says, James, I'm guessing you meant Proche from SMU. James Proche and Omar Bayless are sleepers for me as well. I've talked about this on the other platform. I really like James Proche from SMU. I think he is a good sleeper. I'm not that high on Omar Bayless, but I am with you on James Proche from SMU, 110%. Kills YT asked, what is that mock draft called? That's on fan speak. Matt Miller, big board, difficult setting. 7 rounds. Rhinos asked, inside the NFL, was the Winfield pick at 26 a small reach? So I made the pick at 26 because I looked at what was remaining on the board. Like if there wasn't many safeties left. McKinney had already gone. I wanted Winfield because I saw Ruiz sitting there. And I wanted to get value on Ruiz, which I think I did at 39. I basically took getting value on Ruiz over taking a DeAndre Swift or a J.K. Dobbins because I believe at this time both DeAndre Swift and J.K. and Jonathan Taylor were still on the board. And then they went off the board after Cesar Ruiz, but Jonathan Taylor and J.K. Dobbins was still there. So, I had to make that pick. I don't think it's too much of a risk. I think Winfield's talent is gonna deem a late 20s pick. I've even seen mocks where he's going in the late teens.
Yeah, he's the first round. I don't get where the I don't get where people are, they think it's a reach to get him in the first round. I mean, he's giving you, okay, he gave you the measurables at the combine. He gave you the consistent production at Minnesota. I mean, what else is there to talk about? I don't understand. Why people deem him a reach being in the first round. I just don't understand that.
Yeah.
He, in my opinion, when you're evaluating him in all areas, he's the most as far as the pure safeties. Now, I know Isaiah Simmons is a hybrid. I'm talking about the pure safeties. I think he's the most complete.
Yeah. So, yeah, I agree because you can use him on special teams too. I also think it's ironic that when you watch some of Ashton Davis's best film is against Justin Herbert.
I knew you were going to bring that up. I knew you were going to bring that up, dude. I knew it. You've been waiting to say that, bro. I already know.
I'm going to say this. If Justin Herbert is a top 10 pick, then based off film alone, Ashton Davis is a first rounder, bro. That's all I got to say on that, bro. So
I knew you've been sitting on that for a minute. You've been waiting to say that, bro.
Hey, bro.
It's crazy.
It is what it is, bro. I can't deny. So someone's asking here what I think about Jonathan Taylor's fumbling issues. Christian Foster. Okay, so here's my thing, Christian. I don't think the fumbling issues are as big of an issue as people make it out to be. Why do I say that? Because the man had over 925 carries and only 18 fumbles. So when you actually get into the analytics, 18 fumbles on almost 1,000 carries, that's really not that bad. You know what I mean? It's like you actually take into the context. I think that's people just looking for. My bigger issue with him is I know we saw it at the combine. He showed he's got the hands, but he didn't put that consistently enough on tape at Wisconsin because they just used him as a workhorse. Now, if he comes out and has the hands he showed off at the combine, I think you have something very, very seriously special when you add in his 4.39 40 speed. Like, at his size with that speed and being a 3-down back, and if he can catch the ball out of the field, oh boy, you have the second coming of Todd Gurley minus the arthritic knees, in my opinion. DraftKings FanDuel. Go ahead.
Go ahead, bro.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, I agree. I agree with you 100% about Taylor, but I just have DeAndre Swift ahead of him. I just think either one of them, J.K. Dobbins, Taylor, Swift, I will be ecstatic to get either one of those players. But we all know who my favorite is, DeAndre Swift all day.
But it doesn't worry you at all that he really didn't show that he can be a 3-down back in terms of rushing the football? I mean, he didn't have one season with more than 200 attempts. No,
not at all. Because, again, look at the situation that he's being drafted into. We're not going to ask him to be a bell cow guy. We're not. And then you get him in that platoon role early in his career. And, he's going to develop, I think, eventually to he's an every down back already. But I mean, in terms of him being a bell cow, if we need to lean on him in that regard. So, yeah, his overall skill set, it's like Tua. It's like similar to Tua's physical evaluation. His skill set is just, I think it's Reggie Bush-esque. With this kid's a natural running back. I think Reggie Bush was a wide receiver, a glorified wide receiver playing running back. This kid is a legitimate running back that has wide receiver type like skills. So I give you Taylor is bigger, stronger, and faster slightly, but I just think overall Swift is a better fit, especially considering the scheme that we could potentially be implementing next year.
So GPP Central is asking if I can show some Shea Peterson film and explain why I don't like him. So me and Ian have actually talked about the film aspect. For us to do a proper film analysis and to show you guys what we see, it won't be done live because we will need to overtake the whole screen with the film we're watching, so we can circle things and identify things and point things out for your eyes to follow as the film is being played out, and then we would commentate over it. That's if we're going to do, because we've talked about doing film analysis, and that's how we would approach it. Those would be pre-recorded videos that would be uploaded. As far as Shea Patterson, I wouldn't go through the hassle of recording one of those videos. Not a big fan at all. He has at best an adequate arm, and he has a huge wind up with his arm, which I don't like in his release. A lot of his production came out of play action sets in Michigan's offense. He has a problem with freezing and taking sacks. He holds on the ball way too long. I mean, I think in 2019, his average release time was like 2.82 seconds, and in 2019, I think it was 2.98 3 full seconds, and I don't think he's really good working through his reads and progressions. Just not a total fan. Like his pressure grade this year by PFF was like 31.9. Like not good, man. Not a fan. If I make a joke because I have a couple Michigan friends and I tell them all the time he's an XFL quarterback. I see him potentially going undrafted personally when I look at him. Yeah, I mean, it shows you right there. If I'm getting in a guy like Anthony Gordon in the 7th round, you're going to take Anthony Gordon every day and twice on Sundays over Patterson. You know what I mean? So I don't know whether EMs happen to catch a lot of his stuff. Just not a huge fan of Shea Patterson.
Not at all.
He's so good he didn't even come on your radar.
No.
So Iceberg says the most underrated back is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I agree. I had him number 6 on my board, I believe. Another guy who I've been saying, if we don't get one of those guys in the top 5, Taylor Swift, Dobbins, or even a guy like Cam Akers, or even a Zach Moss, I wouldn't be mad if they picked the Clyde Edwards-Helaire over Zach Moss. But yeah, outside of those, like Akers, Taylor, Swift, and Dobbins, I like Clyde Edwards-Helaire a lot. What do you think? Yeah.
Not particularly high on him. Again, primarily my focus has been on, my top 3 guys. Taylor, Dobbins, DeAndre Swift, and Cam Akers. But no, not too high on him, bro.
Christian Foster asks why I'm not too high on Jalen Hertz. I think when you break down the tape, I see Tyrod Taylor. I see. I see.
That's funny, man.
He depends on his legs a lot more than his arm, and to the point where he leaves a lot of clean pockets. I don't think he has a good deep ball, a lot of float, and that's because he has just at best adequate arm strength. I think he's late to a number of throws. I think he has below average anticipation. I think like Shea Patterson, he has a bit of a wind up in his release, and I think his release in general is slower than you'd like. I think CeeDee Lamb bailed him out a ton. And I always go back to this. You go back to that playoff game where they got knocked out against Clemson, right? And to me, LSU, my bad. Was it LSU? They played LSU, right? Oklahoma? Yeah. So when you go back to that tape, I've said this before, I can identify 3 plays off the top of my head, and they're all CeeDee Lamb routes, obviously, where he missed CD on like a 15-yard post. He throws the ball up like too high and a little behind him, and he's wide open across the middle. Then he missed him on a slant in the end zone again, where he's wide open across the middle. He threw it behind him. Things like that are gimmies, man, especially everyone wants to call him a winner, but to win a national championship too, it had to come in. That's all, I get it. I think he was a product of Lincoln Riley's offense. I know he killed the chalkboard apparently at the combine, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I think he is his ideal fit. And I've said this before to EM. His ideal fit to me is going and sitting behind a Lamar Jackson. That's his ideal fit. He's a scheme fit. If you want to run gimmicky plays, et cetera, with a quarterback who's more dependent on his legs than anything, sure, go get Jalen Hertz. His anticipation and his arm strength is gonna kill you at the next level when it comes to big games, and especially in the playoffs when they start taking things away from you. So I am not a huge proponent of Jalen Hurts. I stand by the fact that I'm not a huge proponent of Jalen Hurts. God help us if we draft him. That's all I gotta say about him.
So where do you project him? What's a realistic projection
He's
for him
gonna
in terms of the draft?
Well, pre-combine, I had him going in the 3rd to 5th. But, I mean, I could see him squeaking into the 2nd based off of his intangibles and his athleticism and speed. But I don't know, man. I think he's one of those guys that a lot of internet fans and internet pundits are higher on than scouts. That's what I'm gathering, at least. Not a huge fan.
Yeah, I think he's a quote unquote system, potential system guy. It's just all about whatever system.
No.
No, I think he's more talented than Tyrod in terms of arm strength, and arm talent. I think you're shortchanging him a little bit in that regard. But yeah, again, I think it's all about in terms of when you're trying to make a projection of his level of success at the next level. It's all about scheme fit with him at this stage. But I think the top. I can see why. That's a fair comparison with Tyrod Taylor. I just think he's a more talented version of Tyrod Taylor.
So
and that would be potentially Dak Prescott. That could a more physically gifted version of Tyrod Taylor. That's Dak Prescott.
I'm trying to. I'll bring it up right now. I got into a discussion. I don't see Dak. I think Dak is thicker. I know he weighs more than Jalen Hurts. I think he has more.
Taller. He's taller too than Hurts.
Yeah, I think what's his face? I think Dak has a stronger arm. A little bit of a stronger arm. So I'm bringing it up right now. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to give you guys some background. So I had a conversation with Brett Lagasse. He's a contributor, Dolphins Wire USA Today. So he basically came out and he said, does anyone else see McNabb when watching Jalen Hurts? And I was like, what is this guy talking about right now? You know what I mean? So obviously, I had to chime in. So I said, check this out. I see Tyrod Taylor, not Donovan McNabb. He said, I don't see Tyrod. I said, both 6'1". Taylor ran a 4.51. Hertz ran a 4.5. Taylor has 10-inch hands. Hertz has 9-inch 3/4 hands. Taylor has a 32 1/4 inch arm length. Hertz is 31 3/4 inches. Athleticism is their best asset. Both not sound decision makers at the college level. Average at best arm strength. Both viewed as leaders, fierce competitors coming out of college, etc. Both had the terrible habit of leaving clean pockets at the college level when they should be trusting their protection and making a play with their arm instead of resorting to their legs. I see Hertz as a big-time project who is the definition of a quarterback needing a good team fit. And someone randomly chimed in and said, that's exactly my point about Hertz. I was intrigued by him in the beginning of the season and I watched a few games. He didn't cut it for me for the very reason you succinctly described above. So that's what I see when I see Hertz, guys. I mean, I literally just had a talk about a guy with USA Today, and I had other people chiming in and saying, yo, you're right, Reason. So that's what I see when I see Jalen Hurts. I think if you're going to go for a better passer, I want a passer. If I'm going for James Morgan, I'm going for an Anthony Gordon, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a fair. I just think Tyrod Taylor, they're similar in terms of their stature and their measurables, but I just think he's a better athlete in terms of his arm strength and arm talent than Tyrod Taylor. I think Tyrod Taylor has a, substandard. I mean, he has a pop gun arm, as I like to say. Hertz, it's not like he has a big arm. He's just, I just think he's more talented in that regard than what Tyrod Taylor is. I think his arm strength is more comparable to, a Dak Prescott type of player. Like I said, when he went to the combine, in terms of his arm strength, he surprised me. He really did. But again, I don't want him in South Florida. I don't want him in Miami as my, if they're drafting him, thinking he's going to be the franchise guy. Oh no, I'd rather stick with Josh Rosen, to be honest with you. But no, let me stop. No, not at all. I'm sorry. No, I'm tripping. No, I retract that statement. But I don't want this kid. I don't want him in terms of selecting him and thinking he's going to be the franchise quarterback. No, I want Miami to stay clear of this kid.
Mm-hmm. So I'm being asked here by Rock again. Reason, what's your take on Cole McDonald? So I like Cole McDonald. I think he's got foundational things you can work with. I think he's got really good arm strength. He definitely looks the part. Flicks the ball, easily travels. I like he's got the gunslinger mentality. Like he'll throw a pick and then he'll come right back and he'll attack defenders at every level, no problem, trying to fit it into tight windows. So I like a guy who can take off mistakes. He has really good accuracy and ball placement underneath, which I think a lot of people sleep on. My only thing with this guy is he's coming from the Hawaii offense, the same one where Cole Brennan put up those crazy numbers, 58 touchdowns. And so he's basically, it's anything but pro. You know what I mean? He's constantly running at least 4 receiver sets. So he's going to become a better decision maker. He was benched a few times last year, which is worrisome. And
he's a good athlete, though.
Oh yeah, and he needs to get better at coming off of his initial read. I think that's another thing he needs to work on for sure. But I like him, man. There's a lot of foundational pieces for you to make something out of with him. So yeah, I like him, man. Another guy who could be a late round sleeper eventually, for sure. When I look at that guy.
Now, when you're talking about these potential late round guys, like a Cole McDonald, like a potential Jalen Hertz, where do they stack up to like Jake Ruddock, in your opinion, Reason? Jake Ruddock or Josh Rosen are backups?
So Anthony Gordon, James Morgan, even a Jake Fromm, I would take them over Rosen and Ruddock. I would take Hertz over Rosen just because of the athleticism. You'd be stupid not to. I would even probably take Cole McDonald over Rosen. I don't know if I would take Jalen Hertz or Cole McDonald over Ruddock based on what I saw when Ruddock was running the offense last preseason.
Mm-hmm. I was highly impressed with Ruddock, bro.
Yeah, I saw a lot of good things. So yeah, Rosen definitely. Ruddock, there's a couple in there that I wouldn't take over him.
Interesting. Yeah, you and Brian, this kid James Morgan, he has something, bro. I've been watching tape. I've been watching his tape. A lot of tape on him last 2 nights. Since our stream the other day, and that kid, bro, he's got a lot to work with, man.
Ooh, and
decent athlete too. He ran like a 4.8 in the 40. Yeah. Decent athleticism. But the arm, you see, what pops out with him on tape is that arm talent, bro.
Oh yeah, bro. I like him.
That ball placement and arm talent it's a lot to work with. So
and before all this Corona stuff hit, we had a workout with him, right?
Yeah, I've heard a lot of conversation linking us to him. So a lot, not just us, but a lot of teams in general.
Yeah, like I said before on the last stream, the teams I've heard are the Dolphins, the Bears, and the Packers. Packers being he's from Wisconsin, and Dolphins being he's currently living in Miami. So Iceberg 30 asks, would you or EM pick Winfield over Delpit? Yes, I would.
Absolutely.
I don't even have to think about that.
Absolutely.
Kills YT. What do you think about Laviska Shenault Jr., the wide receiver from Colorado? I like him a lot. I think he's got to work on his route running, definitely. I think, I like the fact that he grew up a Dolphins fan. I mean, that's awesome. I think this is a guy who has a high upside. He's like, you're going to hear this word a lot, especially with prospects. He's just a little bit rawer than the guys that you're going to get in the top 5. But the foundation is there if he can crispen out his route running and work on his separation a little bit. I definitely think the foundation is there for him to be effective at the next level for sure.
Well, it's just, I project that he might be. It's a strong possibility. I mean, he might slide a bit in this draft. And if you're Miami, I'm not entertaining him in the first.
No.
Or
I'm looking at
first.
I'm looking like if I can get him in the 3rd, okay. I don't even know if I'd reach on him in the 2nd.
Exactly.
Which is crazy because a lot of people mid-season had him going in the 20s, in the back half of the first round. I didn't see it, and now it's kind of starting to level out. Go ahead.
And it's concerning a player at 6'1", 227, and he ran a 4.6. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have the the obscene huge catch radius. He's not a explosive leaper. Mm-hmm. In my opinion. So I know a lot of projections beginning of the year, they were projecting him to go in the first round. I didn't see it at college. I didn't see it on tape. But again, it just depends on if the Dolphins are to entertain select him at some point, it would be much later in the draft for me. Because I see, based off his profile, based off what he put on tape. I mean, we have those. We've got him, and that's basically the same player. It might even be slightly better. I would give a favorable grade to his name just escaped me. Isiah Ford. So he's too similar to, and again, his style of play is too similar to the wide receivers that we already have on his roster. I think we need a change. We need a burner is what I think. A player with, that's that's very fast. We need a speed element implemented into our overall scheme. He's too similar to the type of players that we have on us, and then he's not overly athletic. He's small, 6'1", not small, but generally you see guys that have that kind of weight speed comparison, weight speed combo. They're generally like 6'3", 6'4", 6'5" guys. This dude is 6'1", 6 foot and change. So yeah, I don't see it with him. I don't see what the infatuation with him as a prospect, a high value prospect is. But again, I'm not entertaining this guy until much, much later in the draft, in my opinion.
So we'll get into the last couple questions here, guys. We're almost hitting the 2-hour mark. So Infinite Trauma asks, who do you see being the big bust of the draft? So if you're going from top 10 boards, like I see Grant Delpit potentially having that bust factor. I know Iceberg says he only has tackling issues. Coach Flo is one of the best teachers in the game. Problem is, one of the reasons why they got Byron Jones is because he's such a good tackler that he fits what Flores is trying to implement. So I see Delpit. Another guy is I see Justin Herbert having that bust potential factor. But the reason why I see it is for him getting forced into starting day one. That's where I see that coming from. I think situationally, turning him into a one-read guy, which is what he's going to have to be at the next level, who learns as he goes, usually unless there's a ton of pieces around you, you're not overly successful. And even when you are, for those first couple of years, you're usually not a Super Bowl contender because, like I said, you're still learning. So I see that, and it's not off his skill. It's not off what he has. It's him getting rushed day one. And even the same could be said for Jordan Love if you want to. I just think Jordan Love's mechanics make him better right now. But I think one of those two guys, Jordan Love or Herbert, they could be considered busts if they get started if they get started right away. I think that's a real possibility, man, because I think those guys need to sit a year, learn the offense, develop, polish certain aspects of their game, and then you move forward with them. So that
No,
to me.
I agree with Grant Delpit. I definitely agree with Grant Delpit, especially considering where he was projected to get drafted coming into this year. But I emphatically disagree with Justin Herbert. I think whether he's a day one starter or he sits for a year and learns, that kid has too much to be a bust now, a complete bust. And I guess he needs to define.
He goes into a bad situation and he starts day one and they start losing. His confidence is going to be in the gutter from day one. And that's a hard thing to recover from, especially if you have a rookie season marred by that. So,
well, you have to define. Well, I'm thinking he should define what define what bust means to him.
Well, that's why I said the reason why he could be a bust is because of given the circumstances of starting day one, not because of what he has. So,
but I mean, in terms of like where Tannehill was picked at 8, do you consider Tannehill a bust? Prior to this year, would you consider him a bust? Tannehill had a level of success in the league. I think Herbert is too gifted physically. He can give you prior to this year to where prior to this year in Tannehill's career, I think he can give you his floor will be again prior to this year. I think Herbert is too gifted physically. His floor will be what we got from Ryan Tannehill in terms of his production in South Florida. That's his floor, I think. So, no, I think he is too gifted physically to be to be a absolute bust now. Now, is he going to be a perennial Pro Bowler? Maybe not, but again, that's why I think he needs to define what his definition of a bust is. You know what I mean? My definition of bust is like DeMarcus Russell or Ryan Leaf. That's a bust to me. But I think Herbert I don't think he'll be a bust. But go ahead.
Kills YT says, do you think Burrow could be the big bust of the draft? I mean, anyone really could. Burrow leaves you with concerns over his arm strength. Like I've said, I think I'm one of the first people and only people to label it as a dome arm. So, I mean, anyone has the bust potential in this draft. It's just a matter of what's actually going to play out. He's obviously not going to that strong of an organization, so that won't help him.
You know what? I don't. Again, Josh Rosen is a quote unquote bust. I don't see either one of these top 4 guys but totally busting out. And I mean, what I mean by that is
circumstances can cause you to bust out, though.
What's that, bro?
I said circumstances can cost you to bust.
Oh yeah, I agree. But I think all of them will be at some point. I think Burrow going to Cincinnati. The concern is his lack of arm strength. Playing in the AFC North. But again, I keep telling people they have very good players at the skill on the offensive side of the ball. Cincinnati. I think that would be a relatively good situation for him. Now, in terms of the overall philosophy of the front office, okay, we can debate that all day. But for what they have on their roster right now, offensively, at potentially that could be at his disposal, I'm telling you, man, they got a lot of good players on offense and a lot. He's got a lot of support coming out of the gate. So Tua, I think again, I agree with the situation. That's why I think all of them will be drafted into relatively good situations. I don't think they'll, where they will be picked, what teams select them. I don't think the potential teams. I don't think, for example, if Jordan Love goes to, I think the ideal situation for him would be Green Bay. I mean, is that a bad situation for him at this point? Absolutely not. If Herbert comes to Miami, is that going to be a bad situation for him? No. If he goes to the Chargers, obviously we've talked about this at length as well. The Chargers are one quarterback away from being in contention, serious contention, based on the overall talent level of their roster. Is that a bad situation? Absolutely not. Tua getting drafted to Miami, is that a bad situation? Not. So I don't think for either one of these prospects to bust out, they would have to have like zero work ethic at all. they'll turn out to be like a Jamarcus Russell, where they just, you know, they don't take, working on their craft serious enough. They just totally just, wing it. They don't put the work in. And I don't think, based off the character evaluation of all of these 4 prospects, at this point, I don't see that being a potential problem. Because all of them are so gifted. All of them are so gifted physically. You know what I mean? So I'll be shocked if 3 years from now either one of them wind up being busts. But we'll see.
Thoughts on Miami potentially drafting Jerry Judy? I don't think we need it. I don't think that's really a need. I'd be happy with the talent, but at the end of the day, I would be disappointed that we didn't address something else that we need, because that would be a high pick.
Oh yeah, I don't think we need it. For us to select him, it would have to be at 5. I'm not passing Tua or a potential quarterback up for any player at that point. But I would love Judy. I think he's the most complete, complete wide receiver in this draft. I think he's going to come out the gate and give you, very, very good production because of his overall versatility in his game. His route running, and also he can, as far as implement, he can play in any position, in any formation.
He needs to work on those.
You throw at a defense.
He needs to work on those hands though, because if it wasn't for his hands, they would have beat LSU.
And he's fat, and he's faster than people think. 4.45, 4.43 speed. That's plenty. I mean, he's not Henry Ruggs in that department, but he's got plenty of speed. But that, in addition to his violent route running, that kid, man, I think he's going to come out the gate being a very productive player for some team. But we would have to select him at 5. So no, I'm not going that route.
Yeah. So Kills YT asks, what about Bryce Hall from Virginia? So I was really high on him mid-season. I think I had him like at 6 or 7. I got him at about 9 right now. Still got him as a top 10 corner in this draft. I like him a lot. I do think there's better corners, but if you can get a good value on him, being between the 3rd and the 5th, I think that's a decent pick to make up.
I agree. Yeah, I was high on him coming in this year as well.
Yeah.
It just depends on where he falls.
Yeah. So our last question of the night, guys. We want to thank you all, but Matt Karen asked, thoughts on our kicking game this year? Should we upgrade?
Kicking game? To be honest with you, I haven't gave it much thought, bro.
Yeah, either have I, actually, really.
So, no, just hadn't given it much thought. I don't know. I mean, what was it a glaring issue last year, in your opinion? No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
So I don't think it warrants an upgrade.
Yeah.
At this point. So.
All right. So guys, we're at the 2 hour and 7 minute mark. I want to thank everyone for coming out. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I hope it was informative for you guys. I want to thank everyone again for asking questions. I want to thank everyone again for their support. Hit the like button if you can. Subscribe if you haven't. And like I said, we got 2 more big board shows coming. We got the safeties and we got the defensive tackles. Basically what we did, we identified the top 5 needs in the draft for the Dolphins. That'll fill it out. And then we'll be getting into mock drafts. We're hoping to get at least 2 versions in before the draft, but it's quickly approaching. There's always the potential this weekend that we throw in a news and rumblings show. I'm trying to work on an interview for next week. We'll see how that works out. Anything else you want to say Ian, before we get out of here?
Just want to thank everybody for coming out and appreciate it. Your support is greatly appreciated. Y'all look out for those next week for those for my defensive tackle board show as well as safety, and then we're gonna try to next week fit in my my edge player free agency show, where I'll be just basically highlighting how the players that we signed in free agency and the projecting them into our defense, and I'll articulate what I've been saying on TD's platform or other platforms, I should say, all year long about scheme fits. So yeah, y'all look out for those, and it's greatly appreciate everybody coming out. And I'm going on looking in the chat, looking in the comments right now. Yeah, man, it's greatly appreciated, everybody, and y'all look out for those shows next week because we got a lot of content coming before leading up between now and draft day on the 23rd.
Yeah, and another thing is, me and Ian have talked about this. So what we're going to do, guys, is for the drafts themselves, for the draft days, we're probably going to be over on the other platform with TD while they're live, while the picks are happening. But yeah, after we are going to have a day one recap on this channel. After day one, we're going to have a day two recap after day two, and a day three recap after day three, and then we are actually going to get into some individual player evaluations probably potentially after the draft happens. So we're about to enter some pretty exciting times if you're a Dolphins fan in terms of the capital we have and the potential picks that we can make. I mean, if we come out of this draft with our franchise quarterback, guys, it's a win. So either way, I want to thank you guys again for coming out tonight. We hope to see you again. Nothing but love. Fins up. We're out.
Fins up all day, every day.